This is Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, everybody. Happy Thursdays. We welcome you into Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Stormy Bonatoni, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live in downtown Las Vegas at Circa Resort and Casino, where the world's largest sports book is already packed as we are locked and loaded with conference tournament action. We've had a couple of results already in the books. We have, I think, 6 games in action right now. A couple more set to tip off in a moment, which actually, by the way, real quickly, Alabama A&M versus Texas Southern. Then in the A10, St. Bonaventure and George Mason going head-to-head. Anything stand out to you in either one of those games here real quickly?
No, I haven't watched a ton of A10 outside of what we know at the top here. But St. Bonaventure, really strong result for them yesterday against LaSalle. I mean, beat the absolute tar out of them after a really rough stretch to end the season, which they had lost 6 out of 7 games. Offense was incredible. Offensive rating pretty much 140. So in good form with a little mist. Maybe you can get in there and get it done, but didn't have a good read on that one outside of watching yesterday.
Alabama A&M up from Pick'em to -1.5 in terms of just where the number is at right now. Total 142.5. And that St. Bonaventure game, the Bonnies getting 2.5. Total a tick down as well, seeing some under money there from 143.5 to 141.5. Lots of hype around St. Joe's in the A10 entering the tournament as well. And I mentioned some results in the book. The big one that, I mean, this is the team that is in these like lower level schools that everybody has had eyes on throughout the entirety of the year. Miami of Ohio, they have the perfect undefeated regular season. And the big question was, is what happens to them in the tournament going to ultimately impact their NCAA tournament standings? And they do the one thing that everybody's wondering, like, should they get bounced to the first round? They lose to the 8th seed UMass this morning.
They do. So this is now going to be quite, I think that they are in. I would assume that they are in, but you never know. We talked about this a ton, talked about Jerry Palm twice, and he emphatically told us when we spoke to him, bracketologist, they need to win the tournament. Yep. They need to win the MAC tournament to get in. He almost cut you off when you asked the question when we talked to him the second time. And so now this is a big deal. Losing this game to UMass, the first game at that, I think you can make a stronger case that you win this game, you lose to Akron eventually. Maybe there's a stronger case to be made there, but you can't lose this game. So I'm going to be, obviously, just like everybody else, fascinated to see how the bubble breaks down here, considering these bubble teams really don't want to get in or win some of these games. We've seen some bubble teams take some really rough hits during the beginning of conference play. So maybe the door just opens for them, but this is a massive result, obviously.
I had UMass plus 7.5 this morning. I bet it because we've talked so much down the stretch about kind of the close calls that Miami of Ohio have had. The last 3 games ending the regular season were 2-point games that came down to the last possession. Similar result here, although they just couldn't get away with it this time. 87-83, the final nightmare scenario for the Red Hawks, but we'll see what the committee ultimately decides to do come tournament time.
They got crushed on the offensive glass today. They gave 17 offensive rebounds. Like, that was really the biggest difference for them. They could not stop UMass. UMass shot 20% from beyond the arc, but they got a ton of second chance opportunities. They shot 52% from the floor, so they dominated them inside, and that was a really big difference for Miami today.
Needless to say, we're going to have plenty of college hoops conversation throughout the course of the next 2 hours, but a lot to get to on the program, so let's set the table with the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the Rundown.
You actually teed this first item up pretty well. We're calling it Bubble Boys because we have already seen this week 8 teams in the will they, won't they be in bubble contention get knocked out of their respective tournaments. Stanford, Cal, Virginia Tech, SMU, Cincinnati, Texas, Oklahoma State, Indiana, to name a few. And we've got lots of big bubble games today. Auburn plus 5.5 against Tennessee today in the SEC tournament. We got Oklahoma and Texas A&M going head to head. And in the Mountain West, New Mexico laying a big number against San Jose State, who advances with an upset over Boise State last night. And I'm just going to say it, even though it probably isn't true. San Diego State, they'd be more of a bid stealer at this point coming out of the Mountain West, but they were talking about bubble teams for a while.
No, I mean, they might be.
They could still be alive because everybody keeps losing.
Yes, correct. So, and one of the teams that we think is in, Utah State, is facing a team in which they have been swept by in the regular season. So, no, I mean, San Diego State, the Mountain West, that could be a fascinating conference. Probably one bid if Utah State doesn't win it. And you mentioned the others. Auburn continues to be a very big topic of conversation, especially now with the bubble potentially getting more crowded with Miami, Ohio falling by the wayside. So this is going to be a big day and a big couple of days for these teams. The bubble stinks. Yep. I mean, let's just be honest about it. I know Seth Davis and others were tweeting about this. Like, well, basketball's better than it's ever been. How can you tell me the bubble stinks? These teams stink. They're not particularly good. None of them want to win. So somebody's got to win the war of attrition, and maybe it's going to be after everything Maybe Auburn just makes it in. Who knows?
If there was ever like a conversation against expansion, this is the time. This is the time.
No, we need them all in.
We don't need more. We're going to get some best bets from Greg Peterson as well coming up in the next segment. His thoughts on the college hoop slate today. We'll have plenty of NBA and NHL like usual, but with the NFL top of mind, of course, with all the craziness going on in Baltimore. Going to hear from Eric DeCosta at the podium today, Baltimore Ravens GM, following all of the controversy around Max Crosby.
Yep. And then he tweets out, he's back. I'm staying. I'm willing to bet that he still plays his first snap next season with another team. Either way, it's been absolute madness here. The first wave of free agency has settled down. We'll have some trickle signings, but now it's about seeing what these teams look like, what's going to be the ramifications, if anything, of as we look at the Ravens and the Raiders, and moving forward to the NFL draft, which is going to be here quick.
No doubt about it. And, of course, going to continue our MLB preview series today. Play ball, and you're getting a double header today, hitting on both the Orioles and the Astros after we didn't get to one yesterday. Particularly curious, actually, to get your opinion on Baltimore after they were a team that kind of was exceeding expectations on the rise for a while, has a down year last year. Can they get back to the playoffs? Jensen Lewis, VSiN host, former MLB pitcher as well. He is going to join us, get some of his big picture thoughts, and talk World Baseball Classic, where all of the Americans around the country could breathe a collective sigh of relief last night as Italy gets the big win over Mexico, and the U.S. is in the quarterfinals for real this time, Mark DeRosa.
Yeah, my guy, Vinny Pasquantino gets it done. The dude's been absolutely unreal. 3 homers yesterday in the World Baseball Classic. The power's been incredible. And remember last year, and the only why I know this, Vinny P on my fantasy team. Yeah. Hopefully we can keep this going. But last year, a guy who hit 30-plus homers, over 100 runs driven in. This is a really good look for Kansas City, who seems like a team that's going to be maybe pretty competitive in that division, potentially win it. But for Vinny P and the Italians to get this done, how many milligrams of caffeine are in a shot of espresso?
I don't know, but he was vibing.
I think it's about 100. So, that's not too bad if you take 3, because he took 3 yesterday, correct?
3 home runs equals 3 dugout espresso shots.
This thing's 200, so it's not like this can't be that much.
He was awesome, and I love the post game as well on the field, just saying like, "Hey, Team USA, saw you at the team hotel. We were trying to help you out here today, so you're welcome." Yeah,
what's with the weird thing to see the Team USA stuff with the refusing to shake hands at the plate and all that? Have you seen this? I don't know. Baseball players are so weird, dude.
I don't know. Maybe the espresso. Can we call those PEBs, performance enhancing beverages? Because it was working. It was working for them yesterday. With this result, though, in hand now, 8 teams, 2 from each pools, advance to what is now a single elimination tournament. The quarterfinals beginning on Friday with 2 games. Team USA, a big favorite, minus $8 against Canada. Winner of that game will play the winner of the Dominican Republic and Korea. And then 2 more games on Saturday, Italy, Puerto Rico, Japan, and Venezuela. And those are the 2, closer, more coin flip type games versus the big favorites that we have on Friday.
But still, this is going to be fun. I mean, the assumption would be that the United States will face the Dominican Republic in the first semifinal. That should be an absolute banger, as we're going to watch those 2 on a collision course at this point. The Dominican Republic's lineup is absolutely tremendous. We know how good this United States team can be when properly managed. So that semifinal between those 2, one could argue, we do this in the NBA all the time, but one could argue that truly is the final.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that would make sense. And when you look at the odds board for who's going to win it all, Team USA, a plus 140 favorite, the Dominican Republic plus 230, Japan plus 425, Venezuela 9-1 to round out the top 4.
And a small advantage. Semifinal will be played in Miami. That is where Korea and the Dominican Republic will play. But the Americans, if they win against Canada, will have to fly from Houston. It's a giant trip for them to make. And they have a day off in between, so it probably doesn't matter.
What a long one. Vinny Pasquantino might not have been the only one hopped up on something after what we saw from UNLV head coach Josh Pastner last night. We mentioned UNLV, a big one today against Utah State, but the way they held off Wyoming had their head coach feeling good. Take a listen to him on the court after the game.
Many fans text me that this is a tournament of horrors for UNLV. It's the house of horrors. That meaning that the last 10, and I said horrors, Horrors, by the way, okay? But here's the thing. They said the last decade, UNLV's been 0 for 10 in all games in the Mountain West Conference tournament except Air Force, not named Air Force. And they haven't been in the semis for over 13 years. So they said, they haven't won a game in over a decade against somebody not named Air Force. I wanted to beat San Diego State so bad, but I always believe this in in life, things are deeper than they look on the surface. Because of our loss, it gave us a chance to play Wyoming. If we had won, we would have played Air Force. So now we broke the streak. Things in life are deeper than they look on the surface. And because of that, we got to play Wyoming. And the House of Horrors, HORRORS, is broken. We broke the streak. God bless the Mountain West Conference. God bless the Rebels. And God bless the United States of America, land of the free because of the brave.
I'll have what he's having.
I don't
The
know,
energy, palpable.
So it's a little much. I mean, he was
I'm
ripping
here
that.
for it. Got us the cover.
It's funny because there's that. He ripped that same line in the post-game presser. And then as I do local, we got to talk to him up there on the concourse for a while. And he was ripping the same thing as well. Look, it's a big win. It's a big cover. At the end of the game, a massive block that sets up some free throws that gets UNLV the cover on the closing number of 2.5. Our buddy Chris Passero had +5. One of the bigger betting results of the evening in college basketball.
That's what we were talking about yesterday. There's a world where we can both win, and we did.
Yep. So falls on 3, big one there, and it sets up a pretty fascinating game. Utah State 0-2 straight up and against the spread against UNLV this season. Bet up from a 6-point favorite to an 8.5-point favorite today. That's going to tip off in just less than an hour. So an incredible matchup that we can't wait to see. By the way, really quickly on that note, though, you could talk about how, hey, you're 0-10 in the other games that you didn't play Air Force in the Mountain West tournament. Air Force had 10 points last night at halftime.
Yeah, they probably would have liked to play
Nevada beat them 80-45. You might want that one instead.
Wouldn't have been as close a call, but shout out Kamani Hamilton for hitting the foul shots late. We needed you, buddy. No longer a House of Horrors. HORRORS. Gotta make sure we spell it every time we say it to ensure. Oh, come on. We'll be right back.
Hey, let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. It's March, which means the madness is officially upon us, and the folks at VSiN have really gone crazy with this one. I'm being told that for just $29.99, you can get unlimited access to VSiN Pro through May 1st. I'm talking picks through the tournament, public betting data for every single game, plus sharp tools, projections, articles, and more. But here's the thing. There's already a ton up on the site for Champ Week, which means every day you wait is an opportunity missed. Just click the link in the description to get started. It's March, baby. All right, now back to the show.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Plenty of conference tournament games in action right now. We had 3 more NCAA tickets punched last night, up to 15 now in the books. McNeese gets the win in the Southland Conference. Lehigh takes the Patriot League. Idaho as a 7 seed gets it done in the Big Sky as well, cashing near 10-1. No auto bids today, but still a very busy and strong card.
Can I argue, not an auto bid, but I think a ticket punched, especially with this victory. Ohio State beats Iowa 72-69. Gets the big win right before the end of the regular season. And I think that we can safely say, maybe we can ask Greg about this, that Ohio State is in.
That one and a big loss as well for Miami of Ohio against UMass. So Greg Peterson joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Of course, VSiN host, analyst. You can check out the Coast to Coast Hoops podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and member of the Circa College Hoops Challenge. But Greg, let's start on the Ohio State side of this. Does this win now, in your mind, have the Buckeyes in the field?
Honestly, they probably should have been in to start with, because every team around them has lost. If you have looked at the bubble over the last week or so, seemingly every single team where it's like, oh, they need this game in order to make the NCAA tournament, they all lose them. You look at the teams like Cincinnati, SMU, pretty much, hate to be that guy, but every single team in the ACC that needed to win. You just take a look at the landscape of basketball. Texas loses yesterday. List goes on and on. So absolutely, Ohio State, in my opinion, should be in the NCAA tournament. And something else that they'll factor in as well. John Mobley, their number 2 scorer, was missing for a few weeks. Ever since he's come back, Ohio State has looked better. So I'd be very stunned if Ohio State is not making the 4-letter dance instead of the 3-letter tournament.
All right, Greg, what about Miami, Ohio? They lose today to UMass. We talked to Jerry Palm, who used to work at CBS Sports, does his own thing now in terms of bracketology. A couple of weeks ago, he said they need to win the MAC to get in. Do you agree?
I think that if you don't put Miami of Ohio in the NCAA tournament, you're telling these mid-major teams, what the heck is the point of a regular season? Like, I mean, if you can't put in a team that won 31 regular season games over these teams that lost 13 games, 14 games, and I keep going down the list. Stanford lost in the first game of their conference tournament. Texas lost yesterday. Auburn went 2-8 to end the regular season. Winning at the end of the day should matter, especially in a bubble that is so weak. And they're talking about expanding the NCAA tournament. We're having a tough enough time being able to find 68 worthy teams for this year's NCAA tournament. If you don't put in Miami of Ohio, for one, you're going to anger a lot of these mid-major programs, which is the reason why you've got $1 billion product. And for two, let's call it what it is. The people at this point want to see Miami of Ohio. This is an entertainment product. So I absolutely think that Miami of Ohio is going to be in. And I think that we get a 2-bid MAC.
Well, I'd love to hear your opinion on this Auburn-Tennessee matchup today, kind of with that in mind. They get the win yesterday against Mississippi State, now getting 5.5 against Tennessee in the second round of the SEC title tournament. 145.5 the total there. Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, this total opened up well above 149, and it has been driven way, way down. At this point, I do like the over because I do feel like it's went a little bit too low because Auburn's actually a really good offensive team. This Auburn team is in the top 20 in terms of points scored on a per possession basis. They are awful on defense as well. They are well inside the top 260 in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis, and we see it a lot in these conference tournament games. If you think that the game is going to land 5, 6, right now the spread is 5.5. So you're thinking that, hey, there might be a 6 or 7 point deficit with a minute remaining. That means fouls and lots and lots of fouls. And guess what Auburn is going to be doing if they're down 6 or 7 points with a minute remaining? They're going to be fouling. They're going to try everything humanly possible to get themselves back into a game. And for Tennessee, this is a squad that has been dealing with the name and injuries, so that's hurt them a little bit offensively, but this is a team that does a great job in terms of giving themselves second and third chances. They rank, depending upon the day, either number 1 or number 2 in terms of percentage of their missed shots that resulted in an offensive rebound. Meanwhile, for Auburn, they do an amazing job of getting to the free throw line. They're a top 5 team in terms of free throw attempts on a per possession basis. Haven't been a great 3-point shooting team, and Tennessee's forte on defense is always guarding the 3-point line. So with this total at 145.5, I think that's gone too far. I do like the over.
All right, let's talk about a couple of other teams here with you. We got a lot of good games. Big 12 is pretty fascinating. By the way, Iowa State could not show up for me in the Circa College Hoops Challenge against Texas Tech a couple of weeks ago, Greg, but they're doing it here against the Red Raiders. Let's go to the evening game, TCU and Kansas. We're seeing this 5.5, 6 totals, 144.5, 145. TCU, I thought, was an intriguing team in the bracket because I thought their path wasn't terrible. They've been playing really well on defense. What do you make of this matchup with the Horned Frogs and the Jayhawks?
Yeah, I wouldn't trust Kansas laying 5.5 just because you don't know what Kansas team you're going to get. What Darren Peters said, ever since he's been playing 30-plus minutes, it's almost as if Kansas has been a little bit worse on offense, which is strange as that sounds. It really has been the case, other than that game against Kansas State, which that was a dead team walking for the last few weeks after they fired Jerome Tang. I do like the under here. Kansas has been a really good defensive team, top 35 unit in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis, and these defenses are complete opposites. Kansas generates no turnovers whatsoever, but they also don't allow you to get clean looks. Top 45 team in terms of opponents' 2-point and 3-point shooting percentage. Florida down low has been able to give you 2+ blocks per contest. TCU, they're going to give up a few open looks, but they're incredible at generating turnovers. They're a top 40 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis. They've got a great shot blocker of their own in David Punch. Personally, I would like to be able to take TCU at a 6+, so I'm hoping that this number moves up a little bit more, but that total of 144.5, I feel like it's too high. I like the under.
VSiN basketball analyst Greg Peterson joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line. A number of games set to tip off here in the next 10 or so minutes, including a quarterfinal in the ACC, Louisville, Miami. Louisville gets the win, but can't cover the 6.5 against SMU yesterday. No Michael Brown, clearly been a topic of conversation, but they are favored again here, -1.5. The under money coming in as well, a 5-point move on that total down to 151.5. What do you think?
Even without Brown, when they played against Miami less than 7 days ago, they went on the road and took down Miami because this is a Miami team that they've got one weakness. They do not guard the 3 well. Entered into yesterday 280th in the country in terms of opponents' 3-point shooting percentage. And you've got a Louisville team that even with Brown out, you know exactly what they're going to do. They are going to go bombs away from three. This is a unit that they take over 52% of their field goal attempts from three. That is a top 5 percentage in all of college basketball. Guys like Ryan Conwell and company, I think, are going to be able to step up. And for Louisville, everyone thinks that they're an offensive team with no defense. This team has been able to do a solid job on the glass. The forte for Miami is rebounding. They're a top 10 team in terms of rebound percentage. Louisville's 23rd in the country. So these guys like Sundara Frew and company have really been able to do a nice job stepping up, being able to grab some boards for Louisville. I think that with Miami just doing a bad job in terms of guarding the arc, but Miami being themselves a team that does a really good job on the inside with their offense, I do think that you're going to get an over here. Saw that right around 153.5 before I came on. Looks like it's going down even further, so like it even more, and I laid the 1.5 with Louisville.
All right, next up in the Big East, coming up in a few minutes, we get Seton Hall and Creighton at Madison Square Garden. It's 3.5 at a couple of spots, 2.5 at others, with a total of 136.5. Greg, what do you make of it?
I think the totals went too high. With the Seton Hall team, I remember when they and Creighton played a game where neither team could get to 60 a few weeks ago. So I did think that you're going to give yourself a little bit of a slog with the Seton Hall team that flat out they haven't been able to shoot very well this year. They're outside the top 275 in terms of their 2-point and 3-point shooting percentage. I still laid the 2.5 with Seton Hall, though, because the defense is so strong. They're a top 15 team in terms of turnovers generated on a per possession basis, in terms of points allowed on a per possession basis, and they grab the second and third chances. And for Creighton, the Owen Freeman signing just really not panning out for them. That's really what's been costly for them. And I've noticed this with Creighton as well. Austin Schwartz, who was really a big key for this team in conference play, he's returned from injury, but he hasn't been the same guy. He hasn't been playing the minutes that he was before, not hitting the same shots that he was before. That really hurts a Creighton offense that they sort of live and die by 3-point shooting this year. I think that Seton Hall, they do just enough to be able to get the job done here. One to lay 2.5 with them. I like that 136 after the under.
I laid the 2.5 with Seton Hall as well in this spot. Just looking at some of the cover numbers for Creighton, 2-9 ATS, their last 11 games. And Seton Hall been playing some good basketball lately, despite a couple of those losses, 2 of them being competitive games still to UConn and St. John. So I like that angle. I'm rolling with you on that one, Greg. Thank you so much for the time as always. Enjoy conference tournament week.
Always fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that game's going to be a fun one. In my mind, I feel like they're just playing better basketball right now, even though they lost the head-to-head in the most recent matchup. We also have one more game that's set to tip off here in a moment in the Big Ten. Washington and Wisconsin. Wisconsin laying 6.5. Did want to give out this nugget real quickly. I saw it in Bill Adie's newsletter this morning, vsin.com/newsletter, if you want to get that in your inbox each and every day. But our friend Steve Makinen's favorite conference tournament trend this week is fading teams in the Big Ten ATS off the first round bye. So 26-15 straight up, those teams are, but 13-30-2 against the number were against teams that have already played that first game. So take that for what you will in this spot. Reminder, guys, as Selection Sunday looms, it's time for Sharp Week here at VSiN all week long. VSiN's Sharp Week is going to be home for serious tournament bettors. We'll have sharp analysis on each and every team, every matchup, every round from the first 4 all the way through championship weekend. Whether you're filling out a bracket, playing a survivor contest, or betting every game on the board, VSiN's got the edge you need. It's all in one place all week long. You want more information? You want to get involved? Head over to vsin.com/sharp week. No, not Shark Week. Sharp Week. SHARP week. Take your tournament game to the next level. We got to step aside here. When we come back, getting into a little MLB action, our Play Ball preview series rolls on when we return here on Money Moves.
Watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're cruising here to Thursday edition of Money Moves. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. This segment sponsored by Upside. Download the free Upside app today and earn real cash back every time you fill up your tank. Promo code SPORTS will also get you 25 cents back per gallon on your first tank. Might need to use that actually on my way to the Thomas and Mack a little bit later on. Getting some Mountain West Conference tournament hoops coming up. We'll preview some more of those games in just a little bit. Did want to mention here real quickly for inquiring minds, tough start to the weekend for world number 4 Colin Morikawa out there at the Players Championship. Had a back tweak this morning, so he had to withdraw already. He was among the short shots to win it all this weekend. Although and this is what I'll say, because this is like one of my pet peeves in general, whether it be the NBA, the NFL, whatever it is. It's the like injury forgiveness, all of the early exit
Stormy
stuff
wants
that's
people
coming
to
out.
lose. She is not.
No, I don't.
She's pro sportsbook. She wants you to lose.
No, I don't. I just think that it's gotten a little bit out of hand. And there are people out there that probably had a bet on, I don't know, Colin Morikawa to miss the cut or something like that at a pretty nice price, that now their bet is voided instead of being a dub. So there are other people that are on the losing end of this too, that you like to forget about those people.
What's that? What is that?
I feel
she
bad
is very gorgeous to me.
I feel bad for Morikawa though. This is like the third back injury we're talking about this week.
Oh, of course. I mean, the obviously backs are important when you're talking about golf, but you mentioned what? Rory McIlroy, Colin Morikawa. What's
And
the other
Jake
one?
Knapp.
Yeah, Knapp that we're talking about here.
He withdrew last week,
Yep.
and he said he was sick or whatever, and then we find out coming into this tournament that it was actually a back tweak.
Well, and you want to make sure that's ready. Obviously, we talked about that. You're looking ahead to Augusta. I mean, that's coming up in a month.
Yep.
So one would assume that Morikawa is going to do everything possible. And maybe that's part of it, too. It's just like, hey, look, this isn't worth trying to play through or fight through because we have a major coming up in less than a month that I have to be ready for, that I would like to win.
Keeping tabs on some of these live games as well in college basketball. Iowa State now up 20 with a minute to go here against Texas Tech. Make that 22 as they add another one on the board right there. Yeah, 1 minute to go here as they get set to advance to the semifinals in the Big 12 tournament. We also have plenty of baseball to discuss here as our MLB preview series rolls on. It is time to play ball.
Should just note really quickly before we move to baseball that Missouri is trailing 63-58, a team firmly on the bubble as well, as we talked about these teams failing to capitalize. Lenardi has them as the last four in at the top of that list, but still down 63-58 with 6 minutes left to go in the second half.
Bing bong. Okay, we got a double feature for you today with our MLB previews because I teased yesterday that we were going to talk about the Baltimore Orioles, and we just had so much going on with all the conference tournament action that we skipped over it. We will not do that to you today. We've got the Orioles as well as the Houston Astros. And for Baltimore, fair to say, one of the most disappointing seasons of last year. Heading into this year, though, they do bring back a lot of that homegrown young talent, added a bit of an oldie but a goodie in Pete Alonso as well from the Mets. Big time prospect coming up in Samuel Basallo. They trade away Grayson Rodriguez to acquire Taylor Ward from your beloved Angels. Pitching is a question mark. We'll get to that in a moment, but big picture thoughts on Baltimore trying to get back to the playoffs this season.
I love them. I think they're going to be very good this year. See, the difference between this year and last year, we had talked about this last offseason. Baltimore's strategy last year was, well, you got a bunch of young guys. Of course they're going to get better. And so they really didn't do anything in the offseason to improve the team. This year, this was a group that clearly saw, okay, the strategy of natural development and progress didn't work for us last year. We took a step back. Let's count on that while also adding to the team some veteran presence, some guys who are established so that we can be better. And I really like what they've done here in what they've added. You mentioned the additions. The lineup should be very strong. And I would, I guess, push back a little bit. I'm kind of in on this pitching staff. I think this staff from a rotation standpoint is going to be very good. You have Kyle Bradish, who's there. He's made 14 starts, 71 in the third innings the last two seasons, but we'll see if he can be healthy. Trevor Rogers was incredible last year. By the way, part of the future is Mitch Moss, a long shot Cy Young award that he had pointed out there as well. But Rogers was incredible. What is it? A 3.3 F4, but really the splits that you like, ERA expected and FIP, 181, 339, 282. He was absolutely dominant. Every time he played, you were just at first five. You're going to be in it every single time he's out there. And a little bit more depth on the back end. I think that there's a lot to like about what this rotation offers. So I'm kind of in. Like the hitting should be good. The front end of the rotation and the rotation overall is deep enough. I think you can quibble with what this bullpen looks like, but you added Helsley in the offseason as well to help you in the back end. I think they've kind of checked all the boxes for me here this year.
I did read an article yesterday about like people within the building thinking that the pitching staff is pretty underrated. And so not to totally push back on your pushback, but I think health is a big question to me. And you mentioned Bradish and what he's been able to do, but Tommy John, coming off Tommy John and all of that, you have your questions about what that looks like. And yes, a career revival for Trevor Rogers, but it was a relatively short sample size. So what's that going to look like with a full season now, as he didn't, start playing games last year until June? Will Zach Eflin get back to his pre-injury self too? I think it's a very, high ceiling, low floor group when you look at it from that standpoint.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think maybe the way I'm viewing them is a little bit more of what they can be as opposed to.
Well, that's what you have to do, right?
Yeah.
What's the potential going to be when you're trying to bet into markets like this?
Right. And what are you projecting them to be? And I think that there's some real potential here for all of these guys overall. So I'm kind of down with this. I like the additions. It was a lot of square peg, square hole additions that we were just filling spots. And you look at the American League East, I think you can be a team that is going to be competitive. It looks like a really good division. We obviously know what the Toronto Blue Jays did a season ago. The Yankees are always going to be up there in terms of the way that they have been competing as well. The Red Sox should be right around where they were, like an 85-ish win team, maybe a little bit more competitive too. We'll talk about the Rays. I mean, we talked about the Rays, and they don't look like they're going to be overwhelming as an opponent. I think that Baltimore could surprise here. And I think we alluded to this a couple of weeks ago, but the division order of finish is going to be really interesting because a lot of people, I think, are expecting good things from Toronto, but I think there's a case that Baltimore is that team that could finish potentially second or maybe even win the division if everything goes right for them.
To win the division, plus 425. To finish second, plus 350. Third, plus 320. Fourth is the favorite in the market at 3-1. Their season win total this year, 85.5. Most projections I've looked at have them in the 85 to 87 mark, which would be a 10-win improvement on what they did a year ago. But again, a lot of optimism about what this team can be ultimately in 2026 after back-to-back playoff appearances, not making it last year, to get back into the fold, minus 115 on the yes to make the postseason.
And really quickly, I want to get that number up because I did mention we talked about the Orioles in short order on Pod to the Futures a little bit earlier this week, but Trevor Rogers and that number that we were discussing for Cy Young, I want to get exactly where we're at, about like 40, 50 to 1, depending on where you look.
All right, hit me with your preview of the Houston Astros now this season.
It's going to be a good year, Stormy. You want to know why? Because the Astros, I think, should stink. Yeah, like this is, I thought, Adam, first off, Adam, to use the analogy, hit it out of the park with the analysis here when you looked at what this team is going to be. But I think when you evaluate Houston, one of the places you start with is, what is this pitching staff going to look like? Framber Valdez is obviously gone. He is now a member of the Detroit Tigers. You look at the pitching staff behind Hunter Brown, because Brown's going to be awesome. Brown made 31 starts last year. He has been absolutely phenomenal, is a Cy Young type candidate, I think, as well. Mike Palm and I both had Hunter Brown last year, long shot tickets or mid-range tickets throughout the season. And he was alive throughout most of it, but kind of fell off a little bit near the tail end. But behind Hunter Brown, you have a lot of real questions as to what this is going to look like. Spencer Arrighetti, never really took the step forward last year that a lot of people, including myself, thought he could. If you looked at his first season in the bigs, that was a profile that there's a ton of swing and miss, a ton of bad luck, a ton of hard contact. If you can just really solidify that stuff, you were expecting he was going to be great, but he wasn't. After that, what in the world are you doing with some of these guys in this rotation? And then you look at the hitting. I mean, is Yordan Alvarez going to be healthy? He never really has been. This looks like a weak lineup overall. Kyle Tucker obviously not there anymore. This looks like a team that is primed to take a very big step back. Back end of the bullpen is going to be fine, but rotation and the fact that this team last year was where they were from an offensive production standpoint, I don't know why you're going to trust that they're going to be able to be the same team they are. I think they're somewhat getting priced like they're the old Houston Astros. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that there's a chance that they're like the third best team in the American League West.
Okay, that's a good perspective. And that's obviously an option that you could bet as well as we talk about those predicted order of finishes in the division each time. In terms of the Brown number for Cy Young, though, 13-1, he is fourth on the board. We had the conversation, though, when we were previewing the Tigers, that Tarek Skubal, though, plus 350, it's like, if this dude stays healthy, like, how does he not win it kind of a question?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brown's got the profile. He can put up some sexy strikeout numbers. Like, he could be the dude that can put up some stuff to allow it to, or should be to be competitive with Tarek Skubal. Skubal's just baseball. I think we said this the other day. Baseball writers and voters, at the very least, are unlike NBA voters, where they're just like, yeah, if you're good, you're good, and we're going to give it to you 10 times in a row. That's obviously somewhat hyperbolic, but you get the point. They're not going to be scared because a guy has won it prior, and so I think that's something worth looking at with Skubal as well. There's not going to be these weird things that they build up here, but under the win total on the Astros, definitely worth it, I think.
That finishing spot in the division number, by the way, for third, 3-1. So a little bang for your buck. Bet $100.
Real question is,
$300.
do they finish ahead of Sacramento.
Whoa. There's no reason to pay full price
very
at the pump
sarcastic. I meant
anymore.
that.
Remember, the free Upside app gives you real cash back every time you buy gas right now. Download Upside today. Start earning cash on everyday fill-ups. Plus, use the promo code SPORTS right now. That'll get you 25 cents back per gallon on your first tank. We're seeing Upside users earn hundreds of bucks each year just by driving like they normally do. Cash out whenever you want, straight to your bank account or popular gift cards. You can get started today with the free Upside app. Promo code SPORTS. Offers vary by user and location. See upside.com for details. We've got a handful of games in college hoops set to tip off momentarily and a big card in the NBA. Will the tanking teams be worth fading again tonight? We'll hit it all coming up.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Oh, you're asking me why I'm laughing. So right before we came on the air, I just broke out in a cackle. It's a very immature reason why. I think last night I watched this video of Texans reporter Aaron Wilson like 20 times. And it just popped up on my feed again. And then Sean Green, host of the Sports Gambling Podcast, who's with us on Fridays, here on the network, just tweeted at me with a quote from the video. If you haven't seen it, it's so good.
It's a word that we're not going to say on air. But
technically,
it's not.
I can say it. It's a name.
It's like when you look
one
at
of us has already been dumped.
when people ask you to sign, one of those.
It's the Bart Simpson bit from The Simpsons when he would call into Moe's Tavern and he would always it's that kind of a joke.
Or when you sign your name to something and you make a fake, silly, stupid name. Yeah. So that's what this guy got. But here's my thing, and I'll ask you this: if you don't know who someone is,
Dixon,
in a setting like that where you're on like a live stream or whatever, and you choose the comments that you're going to read, you either don't have to read that one. Or you can Google the person real quickly.
You underestimate.
Or you can say, I'm sorry, I don't know that LSU prospect. Can't say that I do.
You underestimate the human ego.
That's just a silly thing. But like to act like, oh yeah, I know who this person is. No. That's a little silly to me.
Yeah, of course it is. I think you're absolutely right. But you underestimate the human ego, especially.
I feel bad though, because now it's like caught like wildfire and is everywhere. Poor guy. We do have some college hoops to get to here real quickly. Washington and Wisconsin officially tipped in the Big Ten tournament. Wisconsin laying 6.5 in that game, total 156.5. So we'll keep tabs on that as we go. A few more games that are going to get underway here, top of the hour. UCF in Arizona, Auburn, Tennessee, a game that's been top of mind for us all morning, especially with the bubble conversation around the Auburn Tigers and our beloved UNLV Rebels against Utah State. I actually want to start there if we can real quickly in the Mountain West quarterfinal.
I will if you give me 2 seconds. Timeout here in the SEC tournament, second round, 22 seconds left. Kentucky is up 75-70. Missouri had actually cut this down to a 1-point lead for Kentucky as I had seen it. So the spread on the line. Yeah. Kentucky closed about a 2.5, 3-point favorite. 3, pretty much the predominant number. Total 148.5. And we are on the total as well. I think 75 plus 70 is 145.
Nice.
Yes, right? Okay.
Well,
so we are.
Which that is in play as well. Then.
Yep. So we've got side and total shenanigans here in the SEC tournament. I digress.
We got some of those shenanigans yesterday in UNLV to tie it back to the Mountain West tournament, and the Rebels facing Utah State today. Took some critical foul shots late. UNLV had a huge first half lead, by the way, which we didn't even talk about earlier. Led up a 16-point lead. Wyoming went on a crazy run to start the second half. Regardless, we get out with the win and cover, and now a meeting with the Utah State Aggies, who have been the best team in the league throughout the course of the year, the number 1 seed, but they got by UNLV both games in the regular season. First, UNLV was a 15.5-point dog in Logan on January 20th. Rebels won by 10. And then again, 7.5-point dogs in Vegas in their penultimate game of the season. Rebels win that game by 27. So will third time be the charm for this Utah State team, who the betting market seems to like, bet up from 6.5-point favorites to 8.5.
Yeah, and again, so I will say just the general sense, what we've seen here in a lot of these games is we're seeing the market push back toward where some of the projections are. So last night after the result, I was looking through and waiting for the point spread to come out, and my expectation was 7.5, open 6.5. As you mentioned, some of the projections like KenPom had it like 9. So you're starting to see that drift toward what some of the projection sites really have this. And generally, I think we usually see that in some of these games. So keep that in mind with where we're at too. Obviously some sharp support, but also reflecting where some of the major projections have this. With that being said, sometimes styles make fights. We talk about this in the UFC. I think Rob Moreno's back there, right? Sometimes that there's just a matchup that works for you, despite everything else. And this, I think, is one of those. Kamani Hamilton and Tyron Jones have been absolute horrors for Utah State in this matchup. They're two big-bodied wings that UNLV has. Tyron Jones was the one that had the game-winning block last night against Wyoming that set up the win and the cover for them, depending on what number that you had. But if you look, and especially the last game that they played at the Thomas and Mack Center, Tyron Jones had 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, was 8 of 10 from the floor. Kamani Hamilton, 34 minutes, 10 of 14, 24 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Like, they absolutely smoked them, and they've got no real answer for those. So I'll be curious to see. We have some time, still about a couple of minutes. 8.5 is probably the predominant number, but I would expect that UNLV can stay inside of this number again. I mean, it's just a matchup that works for them. I guess it's hard to beat a team 3 times. Maybe they don't win, but 8.5 for a team that has matched up extremely well for Utah State, an Aggies team that doesn't have the physicality to match up with those 2 wings, I think is something worth looking at.
In the Big 12, we just saw Utah State dominate Texas Tech. The next game up on the court, UCF, Arizona. Wildcats bet out from 15.5 to 16.5.
You said Utah State dominated UCF.
Sorry, what?
You said in the Big 12,
Oh my
Utah
gosh.
State. Yeah. No, you're good. I just want to correct
Iowa
our audience.
State,
Yes.
Iowa State dominated Texas Tech. UCF is
There
taking
you
on
go.
Arizona now, and they are a massive underdog. Arizona bet up from 15.5 to 16.5. Total seeing some under money here, 145 down to 143.5. Cincinnati was talked about as kind of like a potential Big 12 sleeper to make a run in the tournament. UCF ends up beating them yesterday as a 2.5, 3.5 point dog. I can't remember what the number is off the top of my head, but they get that win. And then in the Auburn-Tennessee game, Tennessee had a first round bye. Auburn beats Mississippi State 79-61 to start the tournament. 5.5 point spread there, and a big move to the under in that game as well.
Yeah, I think we'll invoke our guy, Steve McAdin. It was his favorite Big Ten trend, we should say, which was fading the teams that were coming off of the buys. Was it double buy or buy? Do you have this?
Buy.
Okay, so it's buy. I mean, there is a sense of, hey, look, team has been playing, had to play elimination basketball, got a little miss to them as well, right? So they had their bodies warmed up, ready to go. This other team has been sitting around for a little bit too. Not too long. I mean, Tennessee last played on Saturday. It's a little less than a week, so I don't know if it's really that big of a deal in terms of rust. But either way, I don't know, man. I don't really like this Auburn team. We've talked about this. We've talked about how bad Auburn can be defensively in SEC play. They've been abysmal, defensive rating in nearly 120. But Tennessee has been a hockey team playing basketball. It is dump and chase. It is, we have to take shots. We will miss those shots. We are 13th in the SEC in effective field goal percentage. We're 10th in offensive efficiency, but we're number 1 in offensive rebounding rate. We will grab nearly 45% of our missed shot attempts, and we will get second chance opportunities. And maybe that can work here in a game against a team like Auburn that has failed the way that they have. Auburn's been pretty middle of the pack in terms of their rebounding, pretty good at generating second chance opportunities, but pretty below average in terms of defensive rebounding. Lean a little bit toward Tennessee here. I don't really love it, though. I mean, Volunteers have not been a good offense at all.
Yeah, I've seen lots of people down on Tennessee right now. Should Auburn win, though, it will get them 3 games over 500 and add a quad 1 win. And so that's why a lot of people are talking
I mean,
about
this
how
is a
important
game.
This game is for them.
The bubble is like everybody. I don't think everybody, but this is a very important game when you're talking about the bubble because Auburn has been a topic of conversation depending on who you like in terms of your bracketologist. They've been floating around that bubble. And as we have discussed, and we hit it with Greg too, these teams all around the bubble continue to lose. I don't think a team like NC State is in any danger or UCF. It seems like these teams that are kind of floating in that last 4 bye range, NC State, UCF, Santa Clara, probably are pretty safe. The question just becomes all of the other teams around you if you're a group like Auburn. And by the way, just not to bring it back, but look, these Mountain West teams that are kind of floating on the periphery as well, New Mexico, San Diego State, both on the first 4 out. They will face each other if they both advance. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic. But these teams that are on the first 4 out, next 4 out, obviously really gunning potentially to get into this mix because a lot of these teams keep losing.
Okay, we can hit on this next thing a little bit more coming up in hour 2, but in the NBA, there wasn't enough yesterday to do something with the fading of tanking teams. Hornets and Knicks did handle business against the Kings and Jazz. If you paired it with Nevada, you got there, great. If you paired it with Boise State, unfortunately, you
Yeah,
didn't.
thank God, huh?
With that one, yeah.
Dude,
That's what we
was
talked
that?
about.
Broncos are
But
ass.
tonight, there are plenty of options. I'll list them out here real quickly. You hit me with the combo you would like best. Magic minus 14.5 against the Wizards. Hawks laying 15.5 against the Nets. Lakers laying 11.5 against the Bulls. So those are the three obvious ones. And then Suns minus 8.5 against the Pacers. This one doesn't fit in the tanking teams, but Pistons laying 15.5 against the 76ers. No Embiid, no Maxey.
Yeah. I think you can use Detroit. Obviously, they're 15.5 point favorites, so you're going to feel relatively comfortable there. But I think you're probably looking at that. I don't think you mentioned Atlanta, did you? Atlanta
Yeah,
taking
I
on
did.
Brooklyn? Okay. Yeah, Atlanta's, I think that you put one together, right? What do you have?
All four of them.
Yeah, I think
Or all
you
five.
feel.
All five gets you even money.
Yeah, I think you feel relatively comfortable with that one today if you wanted to put the 5-legger together. But again, so it's a 5-leg money line parlay, and you got what?
Even money.
There you go.
Yeah, it's gross. But why not? It's been a fun theme on the network. You've
I
talked
think
about
we've
it.
done
Zach's
it. We've
talked
got
about
them,
it.
haven't we? We
Dale,
haven't.
obviously, what's he call it? Like the
Tankapalooza?
yes. So
I don't think we've
it's
lost
fun.
one of them.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Keeping it. Oh no, the one I lost, I went rogue. I
that's
went on
right.
my own, and I added an ugly team that I shouldn't.
Who
have.
was it? Was it the Mavericks against
Yeah.
the Kings?
Yep.
Can't do it. You can't use a tanker against a tanker.
Okay, well, I learned my lesson the hard way. I get it. By the way, though, as we talk about all this March tournament
You know,
action,
your tone today has been very rude. You
going
snapped
on?
at Justin
Listen.
earlier today. You're snapping at me.
I'll continue to do so. I feel like it's necessary.
I'm not
Sometimes-
going to the tournament with you anymore.
That's not true. Speaking of tournaments, though, with all this action underway right now, Splash Sports is offering $1 million in guaranteed contest prizes in a high stakes survivor contest for the tournament. $1,000 to enter, $1 million on the line. It's like NFL Survivor, but with the big dance. Just make one pick per day. You can't use the same team twice, which adds a strategic element. Outlast everyone else, and you're in for a share of $1 million. Plus, right now, new players using promo code VSIN MM26 get a 50% deposit match up to $100, a free Quick Picks entry up to $20 on them, plus a 100% Quick Picks payout boost on every entry up to $20. Splashsports.com/VSIN to join.